Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Arvan tells a story. Okay, I'm talking about Australia. Officially, the Commonwealth of Australia is a sovereign country comprising the mainland of the Australian continent, the island of Tasmania, and numerous smaller islands, with an area of 7,617,930 square kilometers. Australia is the largest country by area in Oceania and the world's sixth largest country. Australia is the oldest, flattest, and driest inhabited continent, with the least fertile soil. It is a mega-diverse country and its size gives it a wide variety of landscapes and climates, with desert in the center, tropical rainforests in the northeast, and mountain ranges in the southeast. Indigenous Australians have inhabited the continent for approximately 65,000 years. The European maritime exploration of Australia commenced in the early 17th century with the arrival of Dutch explorers. In 1770, Australia's eastern half was claimed by Great Britain and initially settled through penal transportation to the colony of New South Wales from 26 January 1788. A date which became Australia's National Day. The European population grew steadily in subsequent decades, and by the time of an 1850s gold rush, most of the continent had been explored by European settlers and an additional 5 self-governing crown colonies established. On 1st of January 1901, the 6 colonies federated, forming the Commonwealth of Australia. Australia has since maintained a stable liberal democratic political system and multi-market economy. Politically, Australia is a federal parliamentary constitutional monarchy, comprising 6 states and 10 territories. Australia's population of nearly 26 million is highly urbanized and heavily concentrated on the eastern seaboard. Canberra is the nation's capital, while the 5 largest cities are Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. Australia's demography has been shaped by centuries of immigration. Immigration accounts for 30% of the country's population, and almost half of Australians have at least one parent born overseas. Australia's abundant natural resources and well-developed international trade relations are crucial to the country's economy, which generates its income from various sources, including services, mining exports, banking, manufacturing, agriculture, and international education. Now, Australia is a highly developed country with a high income economy. It has the world's 13th largest economy, 10th highest per capita income, and 8th highest human development index. Australia is a regional power and has the world's 13th highest military expenditure. Australia ranks amongst the highest in the world for quality of life, democracy, health, education, economic freedom, civil liberties, safety, and political rights, with all its major cities faring exceptionally in global comparative livability surveys. It is a member of international groupings including the United Nations, the G20, the OECD, the WTO, and thus AUKUS 5 Eyes, the Quad, APEC, the Pacific Islands Forum, the Pacific Community, and the Commonwealth of Nations. We talk about history. Human habitation of the Australian continent is known to have begun about 65,000 years ago with the migration of people by land bridges and short sea crossings from what is now Southeast Asia. The Mazet Baby rock shelter in Arnhem Land is recognized as the oldest site showing the presence of humans in Australia. The oldest human remains found are the Lake Mungo remains, which have been dated to around 41 years ago. These people were two ancestors of modern indigenous Australians. Aboriginal Australian culture is one of the oldest continual cultures on Earth. The first recorded European sighting of the Australian mainland and the first recorded European landfall on the Australian continent are attributed to the Dutch. The first ship and crew to chart the Australian coast and meet with Aboriginal people was the Duifkan, captained by Dutch navigator William Jenson. He sighted the coast of Cape York Peninsula in early 1606 and made landfall on 26 of February 1606 at the Pennefather River near the mountain town of Vipa on Cape York. Later that year, Spanish explorer Luis Vaz de Torres sailed through and navigated the Torres Strait Islands. The Dutch charted the whole of the western and northern coastlines and named the island continent New Holland during 17th century. And although no attempt at settlement was made, a number of shipwrecks left men either stranded or, as in the case of Batavia in 1629, marooned for mutiny and murder, thus becoming the first Europeans to permanently inhabit the continent. In 1770, Captain James Cook sights along and maps the east coast, which he names New South Wales, and claimed for Great Britain. The British continued to push into other areas of the continent in the early 19th century. Initially along the coast in 1803, a settlement was established in Van Diemen's Land, present-day Tasmania. And in 1813, Gregory Blackland, William Lawson, and William Wentworth crossed the Blue Mountain west of Sydney, opening the interior to European settlement. The British claim extended to the whole Australian continent in 1827 when Major Edmund Lockyer established a settlement on King George Sound. The Swan River Colony, present-day Perth, was established in 1829, evolving into the largest Australian colony by area, Western Australia. In accordance with population growth, period colonies were carved from the New South Wales, Tasmania in 1825, South Australia in 1836, New Zealand in 1841, Victoria in 1851, and Queensland in 1859. South Australia was founded as a free province. It was never a penal colony. Western Australia was also founded free but later accepted transported convicts, that last of which arrived in 1868. Decades after transportation had chased to the other colonized. On 1st of January 1901, Federation of the colonized was achieved after a decade of planning, constitutional convention, and referendums, resulting in the establishment of the Commonwealth of Australia as a nation and the entering into force of the Australian Constitution. After the 1907 Imperial Conference, Australia and several other self-governing British settlers colonized were given the status of self-governing dominions with the British Empire. Australia was one of the founding members of the League of Nations in 1920 and subsequently of the United Nations in 1941. Britain's Statute of Westminster 1931 formally ended most of the constitutional links between Australia and the United Kingdom. Australia adopted it in 1942, but it was backdated to 1939 to confirm the validity of legislation passed by the Australian Parliament during World War II. And in the decades following World War II, Australia enjoyed significant increases in living standards, leisure time, and suburban development. Using the slogan, "Populate our Paris," the nation encouraged a large wave of immigration from across Europe, with such immigrants referred to as New Australians. A member of the Western Bloc during the Cold War, Australia participated in the Korean War and the Malayan Emergency during the 1950s and the Vietnam War from 1962 to 1972. During this time, tension over communist influence in society led to unsuccessful attempts by the Mencius government to ban the Communist Party of Australia and a bitter splitting of the Labour Party in 1955. Okay, we are moving to economy. Australia's high-income mixed market economy. It's rich in natural resources. It is the world's 13th largest by nominal terms and the 18th largest by PPP. As of 2021, it has the second highest amount of wealth per adult after Luxembourg and has the 13th highest financial assets per capita. Australia has a labor force of some 13.5 million, with an unemployment rate of 3.5% as of June 2022. According to the Australian Council of Social Services, the poverty rate of Australia exceeds 13.6% of the population. Encompassing 3.2 million, it also estimates that there were 774,000 or 17.7% children under the age of 15 living in relative poverty. The Australian dollar is the nation currency, which is also shared with the three island states in the Pacific, Kiribati, Nauru, and Tuvalu. Australian government debt about $933 billion, exceeds 45.1% of the country's total GDP, and is the world's 8th highest. Australia had the second highest level of household debt in the world in 2020, after Switzerland. Its house prices are among the highest in the world, especially in the large urban areas, which has led to many analysts arguing about a poverty bubble. The large service sector accounts for about 71.2% of total GDP, followed by the industrial sector 25.3%, while the agricultural sector is by far the smallest, making up only 3.6% of total GDP. Australia is the world's 21st largest exporter and 24th largest importer. China is Australia's largest trading partner by a wide margin, accounting for roughly 40% of the country's exports and 17.6% of its imports. Other major export markets include Japan, the United States, and South Korea. Australia has high levels of competitiveness and economic freedom, and it ranks 8th in the Human Development Index. As of 2022, it is ranked 12th in the Index of Economic Freedom and 19th in the Global Competitiveness Report. It attracted 9.5 million international tourists in 2019, and was ranked 13th among the countries of Asia Pacific in 2019 for inbound tourism. The 2021 Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report ranks Australia 7th highest in the world out of 117 countries. Its international tourism received in 2019 amounted to $45.7 billion. Education. Okay, how about education in Australia? School attendance or registration for homeschooling is compulsory throughout Australia. Education is the responsibility of the individual states and territories, so the rules vary between states, but in general, children are required to attend school from the age of about 5 until about 16. In some states, like Western Australia, Northern Territory and New South Wales, children aged 16 until 17 are required to either attend school or participate in vocational training such as an apprenticeship. Yeah. Australia has an adult literacy rate that was estimated to be 99% in 2003. However, 2011 until 2012 report for the Australian Bureau of Statistics reported that Tasmania has a literacy and numeracy rate of only 50%. Australia has 37 government-funded universities and 3 private universities, as well as a number of other specialist institutions that provide approved courses at the higher education level. The OECD places Australia among the most expensive nations to attend university. There is a state-based system of vocational training known as TAFE, and many trades conduct apprenticeships for training new tradespeople. About 58% of Australians aged from 25 to 64 have vocationally or tertiary qualifications, and the tertiary graduation rate of 49% is the highest among OECD countries. 30.9% of Australia's population has attained a higher education qualification, which is among the highest percentage in the world. Australia has the highest ratio of international students per head of population in the world by a largest margin, with 812,000 international students enrolled in the nation's universities and vocational institutions in 2019. Accordingly, in 2019, international students represented on average 26.7% of the student bodies of Australian universities. International education therefore represents one of the country's largest exports and has a pronounced influence on the country's demographics, with a significant proportion of international students remaining in Australia after graduation on various skill and employment visas. Education is Australia's third largest export after iron ore and coal, and contributed over $28 billion to the economy in 2016 until 2017. Geology. Lying on the Indo-Australian Plain, the mainland of Australia is the lowest and most primordial landmass on Earth, with a relatively stable geological history. The landmass includes virtually all non-rock types and from all geological time periods spanning over 3.8 billion years of the Earth's history. The Pilbara Craton is one of the only two pristine Archean 3.6 until 2.7 billion years ago crust identified on the Earth, having been part of all major supercontinents. The Australian continent began to form after the breakup of Gondwana in the Permian, with the separation of the continental landmass from the African continent and Indian subcontinent. It separated from Antarctica over a prolonged period beginning in the Permian and continuing through to the Cretaceous. when the last glacial period ended in about 10,000 BC, rising sea levels from Bass Strait, separating Tasmania from the mainland. Then between about 8,000 and 600, 500 BC, the lowlands in the north were flooded by the sea, separating New Guinea, the Aru Islands, and the mainland of Australia. The Australian continent is moving toward Eurasia at the rate of 6 to 7 centimeters a year. Wow. The Australian mainland's continental crust, excluding the thin margin, has an average thickness of 38 km with a range in thickness from 24 km to 59 km. Australia's geology can be divided into several main sections, showcasing that the continent grew from the west to east. The Archean cratonic silts found mostly in the west, Proterozoic fault belts in the center, and Phanerozoic sedimentary basins, metamorphic and igneous rock in the east. The Australian mainland and Tasmania are situated in the middle of the tectonic plate and have no active volcanoes. But due to passing over the East Australia hotspot, recent volcanism has occurred during the Holocene. In the new volcanic province of Western Victoria and southeastern South Australia, volcanism also occurs in the island of New Guinea. This is considered geologically as a part of the Australian continent, and in the Australian external territory of her islands and McDonald Islands. Seismic activity in the Australian mainland and Tasmania is also low, with the greatest number of fatalities having occurred in the 1989 Newcastle earthquake. Okay, just it about Australia. Thank you for watching. See you soon in another video. Bye.